Start with my stuff first, and then we'll get into the big lesson in all this. Something for you guys to think about. So hip is doing so much better. I was actually able to leg press without much issue at all. No pain afterwards. So we're good in that department. Or we're heading in the right direction. Now, in regards to always something, and that's just how it goes at a certain point. Train hard enough, long enough, and that's just how it is. But you get better at working around these things. So I strained my pec, and this was actually the day I strained my pec. So I'm like, you know what? I got my little cutoff underneath. Going to treat myself to a little arm day. We're going to make some lemonade, and that's what we're going to do. We're not going to push it. We're not going to test it. I've been there. Just let that thing settle. And there's always work to do. That's just how this bodybuilding thing goes. There's always something to do. Focus basically on the stuff that you can do is the motto for any athlete that is limited on whether it be injury, just personal life situation, right? Things like that. So that's what we did. Little arm day, got myself a little pump. And oddly enough, hey, couldn't have come at a better time. This is right around the lowish 180s. And that is when things really start to come to life for me. It's just crazy. It's like literally kind of look like a fit dude, and then all of a sudden lose a few more pounds, and we start to look like, hey, maybe you should consider competing at some point, Bert. So that's always nice to see. So I am getting to the point where it's like I'll be able to confirm what I suspect in regards to this last off season. So hip is better. Pec, we'll figure that out, and I can do a little bit more than I thought I'd be able to, actually. But yeah, just having myself a little fun, little good old brotastic day. I don't care how much pride you take in your head to toe bodybuilding. There's just something about throwing in a little extra volume into the arms. So that is my current situation. And after this, you're going to see actually the set where I was just like, nope, not going to happen. I was about to hit those 110s for 4 sets of 10, really easy, and graduate to the 115s and go from there. So close, but we'll be back after the lockdown. Actually, I maintained more strength than I thought I would. So we'll remember that up here. I think I came back and I was able to do on the incline like 90 pounds for like sets of 6-8 reps, with pauses actually. So I was like, okay, this is actually a little bit more strong than I suspected. Let's chill out. Let's not push it. Muscles might be ready neurologically. It's a skill, right? This whole lifting thing. It's still as sharp as it would be for someone who's been training for about 2 decades. So, we just chilled out on that. It was going to be the 115s for 4 sets of 10. Whoa, now I might have to reconsider how I feel in regards to the self-loathing. Now, what I wanted to go over today was something that we hear it all the time. When it comes to hypertrophy, when it comes to getting as jacked as you can, that volume is king. And that makes sense, and we'll go back to that in a sec. But I'll tell you this, I think, and this is a trend that I've just seen as I've gotten more and more experience, and sometimes a lot of the things that older, more experienced lifters tell you, shout outs to Jeff Alberts, they start to make more sense. You're like, oh, it was to be, why was I so young and dumb, right? What ends up happening is, in many cases, is you get, as you become more experienced and you progress and you advance, quite often, this is just what you see in the trenches. People actually tend to lower the amounts of volume they do. And, I suspect for a lot of reasons, a lot of moving parts as to why. I don't think it's where you guys are going, and that, as you get older, you just get, your recovery abilities change. I think for one, you become a little bit more honest in regards to like what you can actually recover from, which for a hardworking bodybuilder, sometimes that is quite different from how much work you're willing to do. I know for me that was the case. Now, you become more real with that aspect. And obviously, you're working hard. So, you progress. We've all kind of been there. Like, we look back and we're like, oh, we progressed despite maybe in hindsight, we can look back and see that a few things were off in regards to how we approached our bodybuilding, right? So yeah, you progress, you get stronger, and this is a key factor here. You get stronger, and I think the big one is like you just technically get better. You get a lot more accurate, right? Mike Menser had an old quote. He was the pioneer, I think, for HIIT training, at least in regards to the big names. I don't think HIIT is away by any means, but I do think it kind of makes sense what he said. Something along the lines of like, one shot to the heart is all it takes. I am totally butchering that, but it makes sense, right? And I look back at when I started, and man, sometimes I was doing like 20, 25 sets per body part a day, 30 to 40 sets during the whole training session. And I suspected I needed that to grow. And in hindsight, I can see why, because I wasn't very accurate in regards to where I was putting my metaphorical bullets. I was lacking for sure when it comes to the I guess the skill component compared to at least like modern day version of me. So my technique wasn't as on point, and that's for a lot of reasons. I think one, it just gets better the longer you do this. Also, I think this is more of a glute dominant leg press, by the way. It's my posterior chain day, so it's fun. You get to load it a bit heavier. But back to the topic. Yeah, from the skill side of things, I'm better now. Also, I think as your knowledge base just grows and you have a better understanding of like what is the function of that muscle group, what is the best way to load it, you just get better when it comes to applying that newfound skill and I guess coordination, if you will, right? So there's that. And I think the other one is just the fact that in some ways you learn to work harder. So Cynthia, who trains with me, she's a lot newer to training than I am, and that is one thing I constantly tell her is that like you can always, within reason, within the confines of the technique that we want, like you can push a little bit harder than you think you can, especially with good technique. And I mean, just look around your gym and see how many people, even the people who are the regular gym rats. How many of them are actually getting to a point in a set where you see the rep speed change, right? Right? And it's because it feels nasty, man. It feels hard. I mean, I know for me, every time I think I have a good grinder on video when I'm getting closer to those, RPE 9s, maybe 10s, I look at the video and I'm like, oh, that was nearly not as dramatic as it felt. So, for those folks, they hardly videotape away from, I guess, ever pushing beyond that point, which again, with great technique, it's crazy how many reps you can get that maybe in the past you wouldn't have been able to put together, again, within the confines of what is the proper technique for that movement. So yeah, you learn to, as I said it at some point, kind of said it, and then my buddy Brian Doris took it to the next level when he made it like just a catchphrase for a minute there. You learn how to go there, basically. Take it there. And one of my favorite examples of someone who knows how to take it there is Jeff Alberts. Like when you look at that dude, hey, he's not sleeping. That's just focus. He just doesn't know. He knows how not to lose his shit when he's in the middle of one of those sets. So not to compare it to any form of like combat sports, but I think that's a huge difference in regards to like when those guys duke it out versus like when a regular person dukes it out. Like if those guys for some unfortunate reason find themselves in a situation where like, whoa, we about to duke it out, they're calm, they're good, they do this all the time. The more experience you learn, the more time you have in the trenches working hard, again within the caveats of everything I've mentioned, the better you get at battling through those grindy points. And that's why Jeff looks so good when he does his thing. And that's why in this set in particular, I was actually having her, I'm like, can take it far, take it far, take it far, take it far, so that you kind of learn to, yeah, let go of some of that inhibition. And you can see that, yeah, reps literally, they slow down. And then we actually failed. And I told her afterwards, you know what, I think you could have fought that a bit longer. But again, every cell in your body tells you, like, no. And again, it's like, it's a concept that I think, a lot of folks out there, it's like anyone who's ever done an AMRAP set on a squat, shitty technique or not, it's like you're like, damn, I always have more reps than I thought I could. Once you hone your craft and you just get sharp with it, it's just crazier how much more that, like, you're just working with a bigger spoon when you're training. When you're training, again, you're progressing, you're getting stronger. Like my buddy back in the day, Dominic D'Agostino, like I remember I used to look at his volume and be like, oh well, shoot, I guess you only need 3 working sets because you're slinging 170-pound dumbbells on the incline, so I guess it kind of makes sense. And that's an extreme example, but it makes sense. So I recall just a few years into my training, I took up this training system called Max OT. Max OT was literally, if I recall correctly, 6-ish sets per body part, something like that, and it did me a lot of good. One thing it did for me, eventually, I became a volume junkie again. And we forgot everything Max OT taught us. It taught me to, this is the amount of work you have. Try to make this amount of work as best as possible. Increase the quality of it. Focus. Every rep matters. Again, at the end of your training day, you should be able to write like an essay about every set, every rep, and just break it down. So, you know what? Like sometimes with like my newer lifters who are open to it, what I'll have them do, it's like, all right, we're gonna run a program where literally everything is 8 to 10 sets per week, and we're limited to this. This is all we're working with, and we're gonna try to make this amount of volume. Yeah, like we're gonna try to make this amount of volume, like just as efficient as possible. So, yeah, like there is a dosage response relationship when it comes to volume and muscle growth. If I use half the volume that I'm using right now, I do think I'd probably see myself not progress as rapidly as I am now, not at this pace. So that is the case. But again, there is just a point where it's just like the answer isn't more volume. It's just like the answer is like going back and double checking your work and making sure it's all done as efficiently as possible. So we'll get into that a little bit more come the next entry. Elaborate on it even more so, because I'm sure I'll have questions here about what the message behind this video is. And here's the good news. So my boy Kasim, who's been helping me with a lot of stuff this off season, man. Appreciate you, bruh. This is again how him and his N1 crew, have this is how they put together their incline pressing. And this was crazy because, I didn't want to test the pec, but I was able to, hoist up some weight so long as I stayed in that arm path where, that clavicular head is being biased more than the other parts of the pec. So that I'm like, okay, well, I can just incline for days, which, by the way, is not a bad thing, because most of us need a little bit more upper chest relative to right, the big sternal that we have right here. So yeah, and that's a big, and this is why we're ending it with this video. Again, going back to what we're doing, like in regards to Homegirl right here, I've really lowered the amount of volume that she uses, but we make sure everything gets done. And every once in a while, I have her take sets, especially on movements where technique is quite sharp, where it's like, let's really learn to push, stay poised, stay calm, and especially when those reps get so slow, it's like literally you trust your technique, you trust your discipline, you don't lose your shit. And it's crazy, like at this point, like I know for me, like I can do in 3 sets what maybe 10 years ago it took me 6 sets to do, in regards to the amount of stimulus I could provide. Yes, strength and all that other stuff, but but a lot of it is a lot of the stuff that I mentioned is just, again, better exercise selection, better technique, and just being honest with what I can actually recover from. So anyhow, this is me getting my neat. 2 more weeks left on this cut. We looking all right. But wait till you see the final product, which for me usually is not when the cut is over, but 2 weeks afterwards. Anyhow, hope you guys got something from this. Questions you might have, leave them down there. Per usual, my pleasure serving y'all. Catch you guys next week.